Okay, I found my story if you guys want me to read it to you.
Yes.
Shocked, the class turned to see me with my small, chubby, kindergartner-sized middle finger raised alone. Samantha Patterson had just taught me a lesson that I otherwise would have never learned in kindergarten. At Westwood Elementary School, Miss Russo's room 305 was painted wall to wall with posters giving encouraging messages about learning. It was playtime in class, and I couldn't decide if I should color or play with the blocks. I played with the blocks yesterday and made an awesome fort with my friend Carter, but Carter was gone today. So, I grabbed a small yellow crayon and searched for a picture. Miss Russo had the huge 100 crayon boxes that held every single color imaginable. I ripped a picture of an animated duck from one of the many coloring books and began to color. While weaving inside and outside of the lines of my duck picture, a tall, menacing shadow looked over me. She was a towering giant in comparison to me at the time. Her eyes nearly doubled in size with her thick spectacles, making it all the more frightening. Knowing her only as Samantha the loud girl in my class, I stayed muted like a criminal not wanting to talk during the interrogation. Without sitting down or even picking up a crayon, she greeted me at an uncomfortable volume and asked, "Do you want to play a game?" She was terrifying. Softly, I answered, "Sure, but what game do you want to play?" "Hold up your hand." The corners of her lips extended wide to her ears, revealing a wide, tooth-missing smile. Little did I know that this was not a smile of friendship, but a smile of pure evil. I held my hand up and was curious to figure out what this game was. She then started a small song that would lead to my demise. One by one, my fingers went down as she chanted, "My mom told me never to swear in school," putting down a finger each time the song would end.
No.
Eventually, the only three-jointed digit that remained standing on my small hand was my chubby middle finger. Samantha went from wanting to show me a sweet game to yelling, "Teacher! Teacher! He stuck his middle finger at me! He stuck his middle finger at me!" Instantly, my eyes began to be wide like the full moon, and the taste of salt began to fall into my mouth, and not knowing what I did wrong. Miss Russo's eyes got even wider than mine as she hurried over to me. I pleaded, saying, "What did I do? I don't know what I did." After understanding that I didn't know what swearing was, Miss Russo simply told me, "Don't hold that finger up, Ryan. It's meant to be mean. Now go and sit in the timeout chair." When I went to the dreaded timeout chair, I came to a realization. Samantha had just intentionally made me do something wrong to try and get me into trouble. This is how my dislike of Samantha Patterson began. Now, the rain beat down the windows as we walked to lunch. Our new teacher, first grade, Miss Glass, took our class down the marble-floored hallway following the silver line. I didn't see a point to the silver line because my older brother told me about how in middle school there isn't a single confining silver line on the ground. Still, I submitted to the standard. Though my legs were no longer than they were in kindergarten, the walk was still long for a first grader from the 100 to 200 hallway to the lunchroom.
What?
Yeah, our classes, they were
No, I
labeled.
died. Oh, happy joke.
Oh, we're playing?
Keep reading.
Alright.
Fully
The
engaged.
class hurried down the hall in hopes to get food quickly. I never really rushed to lunch because I brought a packed lunch every day. When we reached the door, the kids' faces of joy and wonder were diminished. Whatever. There we saw at the door, frightening, fire-haired lunch lady. She stood with shoulders broad, white apron and cold smile showing. Normally kids would show no dread upon this sight, but the smile subsided when the vile lunch lady unsheathed her devastating black Sharpie marker. All the kids in my class knew that this meant it was random table day. It was a very dreadful lunch it would be. The lunch lady began her process. She would smile smile devilishly, write down a number on your wrist, and you were forced to sit at whatever table had you
Prevent
not
further access to the
It was
biohazard.
my turn to go. I got 7. 7 was usually my lucky number, but I wasn't feeling any luck this day.
Were eliminated.
Grudgingly, I got my 1% milk carton and went to my table. I was the first to sit at my table. I was anxious to see who I would sit by. No one came within the first few minutes, so I thought for a moment I'd be alone. I was happy, and I was perfectly fine with that. Then I saw another 7. It was her. Those same large eyes through thick glasses took sight of me once more, and under those eyes the corners of her evil smile peeked once again in my direction. She stood a whole head taller than me still, with her pupils that seemed bigger somehow. She smiled her still evil smile, but this time it had more teeth. Samantha Patterson sat right next to me. The rest of the lunch would be only her and I at this table. Running out of the 7 available seats, she chose to sit directly to the left of me, remembering her mistreatment of me in kindergarten. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Eating lunch," I responded. "What are you doing now?" she immediately asked after my response.
You need to locate the
"Eating lunch,"
biohazard
I
container.
replied. I was confused. Why would she ask me the same thing again when I already answered her? "What are you doing now?" she responded. I figured... I'm sorry. I figured out at this point in the process she was trying to make me upset, so I stayed quiet. She saw this moment to attack, and then began rapidly asking me, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing now? What are you doing now?" She then began to poke me while she was asking. I didn't like being touched. Instead of taking action, I told her, "Stop that, don't poke me." She laughed her evil laugh in my face. I then moved over one seat, but she followed me. Then she continued to bombard me with the same question and her aggressive poking.
Proceed to
I was
biohazard
fed up with her
container
behavior at this point, so I went to the same lunch lady who had doomed me to my table. I told her how Samantha was trying to get me mad. I told her how she was aggressively attacking me with the same question. I told her how she assaulted me with her aggressive pokes. To this, the villainous lunch lady then replied, "Just go back and sit down, honey. I'm sure she just wants to get to know you." I was mad. I felt like she didn't even listen to my pleas. She then escorted me back to my table, where I was greeted by the same evil smile from Samantha. The lunch lady then looked over and then asked Samantha, "Were you bothering him?" Samantha smiled. "I was just asking him what he was doing." The lunch lady then just smiled to me. "See? She just wants to be your friend." She patted me on the back. The dull lunch lady was unable to see through her lies like I did. I was even more irritated now. I moved one more seat over. Wait, sorry. I
Ryan,
moved
we're
one more
playing.
seat away as a final attempt to ignore her. Again, she followed me. Hang on. Okay, I'm sorry. I have the game open. This time, her eyebrows were raised, and she looked truly sinister. She started poking me even harder. Her voice got even louder, and now she was knocking me off the table with each poke. At this moment, time slowed down for me. I looked at the manipulated lunch lady one more time, hoping she would save me from my torturer. Her gaze was away. She didn't even care. I then turned back to my antagonist. She was still smiling, still poking, and still annoying. Feeling like I had lost, I glumly looked down to my half-eaten lunch with despair. I gazed at my sandwich, then my goldfish pack, which was next to my apple. My eyes then looked to my 1% carton of milk. An idea had emerged in the darkness. I quickly, I grabbed my milk quickly and raised it directly above Samantha's head. Brief moment I looked at her. Her previously smiling face was now in distress. Her eyes were wider than ever before. I smiled a similar smile to the one that she had given me previously. I then turned my milk carton upside down above her head, and the milk covered her head. For a brief moment I was victorious. My own victor who had finally claimed victory against the world champion. However, just like in kindergarten, after my actions, she followed it with a loud yell for help.
One friendly operator.
Ah! He poured milk on me! Teacher, help! Oh wait, it's only me.
10 seconds.
Oh, rip.
5 seconds remaining.
Ella just killed everyone.
All friendlies have been eliminated.
Continue.
It was at this wonderful, joyous moment I felt triumphant. My victory was short-lived. The same lunch lady who forced me to sit at the table and wouldn't help me began rushing to aid Samantha. The lunch lady now looked furious and she commanded, "Go to the principal's office right now, young man!" A different lunch lady escorted me to the principal's office. The walk down was a blur. It was literally a blur because my eyes were filled with tears. I was instantly brought into the principal's office. Miss Winfield was a kind principal. She listened to me tell my struggle and how I told her how Samantha treated me in kindergarten too. Miss Winfield then said, "Ryan, I'm sorry, buddy. We're gonna have to call your mom." I crumbled down in Miss Winfield's office chair as the salted tears crawled down my face and I began to whimper. My mother answered the call and Miss Winfield said, "Hello, Beth. I wanted to call you and tell you that I have Ryan here in my office." I assumed that my mom asked why. Miss Winfield then covered her mouth, trying to make me not hear the next words. She softly spoke.
Op 4 located
"Don't
the
laugh, but
biohazard
a girl was bothering him lunch today, and he tried to tell her to stop. He tried using his words, but she didn't really listen, so he poured milk on her head." I heard laughing through the phone. Miss Winfield even giggled. I continued the rest of my day. I finished my lunch in Miss Winfield's office and then went back to class. When my mother picked me up at the end of the day, I got upset and told her the story once more. She smiled and told me there's no reason to cry over spilled milk. And in the end, I think I won.
Protect the biohazard
Samantha
container.
Patterson never sat by me again. Boom.
That was a
Thank
good conclusion.
Thank you.